Hello, I'm going to talk about acute asthma attacks and how the breath that comes out of the lungs is quite acidic when one is experiencing an asthma attack. This is in contrast to breath from people who don't have asthma or people whose asthma is controlled. The breath pH is slightly alkaline. In fact, the pH of the breath in people with an acute asthma attack is 5.23, and the pH of a normal breath is 7.65. That means that there is 250 times more acid in acute asthmatic breath than normal. I'm going to talk about that. How do we produce acid in our breath? Basically, our breath's main function is to get the carbon dioxide out of our body. Carbon dioxide, when it mixes with water, forms carbonic acid. That's a weak acid. Carbonic acid is a weak acid, but when there's a lot of it, it will acidify the breath. Normally, not only do you have CO2 in the breath, but also the cells that line the airways produce their own acid as part of the metabolic processes. Thus, exhaled breath can have a lot of H plus ions in it. The way cells get rid of the H plus ions is airway cells take up glutamine. It's an amino acid from the blood, break it down into glutamate and ammonia, and throw the ammonia into the lumen of the airways. That means the exhaled breath has a lot of ammonia ions which neutralize the acid, which is why normally exhaled breath is slightly alkaline. Unfortunately, in an acute asthma attack, there's a lot of inflammatory cells in the airways, and those inflammatory cells produce extra acid. And also, because of the extra acid, they stimulate the cells and the nerves to produce a lot of inflammatory molecules. Those add up fuel to the fire, increasing the acid in the airways. The acid causes constriction of the muscles and increased mucus production. All this are the highlights of an acute asthma attack, which is typified by difficulty in breathing because of tightening of the airways, lots of mucus, and wheezing, and so on. What is the chicken and what is the egg? How does an acute asthma attack happen? In people who are prone to having acute asthma attacks, it doesn't take a lot. A viral infection, stress, irritants, all can cause this vicious cycle of increased acid production and difficulty in the proteins in the cell of the airways to break down glutamine and produce the required ammonia. The thing is, it's just the acid itself that causes irritation of the airways. Studies have been shown that if you have people inhale very dilute chlorine gas, which is acidic, they will get symptoms of an acute asthma attack. Then, if you have them inhale immediately after an alkaline solution, the asthma attack is suppressed. For people who've lived in cities with lots of smog, where the smog or the fog is acidic with a pH of 5, asthma exacerbations are much more prominent. This is the mechanism which steroids work. Steroids help the enzymes in the cells break down the glutamine and produce more ammonia. Steroids also decrease the inflammation in the airways, and they also reduce the swelling of the airways. So steroids have multiple effects that break the asthma attack. In fact, if you take a person with a typical asthma attack and measure their exhaled breath, and you find that the pH is 5.23, after 48 hours of being on steroids, their breath normalizes and now is slightly alkaline. It must be very difficult for anybody to have acute asthma attack. As you can imagine, just breathing out this excessively acidic breath is causing the vicious cycle of increased inflammation, increased constriction, and the cycle continues until you can break it either with drugs or inhaling an alkaline solution.